What's up, everyone? James and Ben here for OddsChecker previewing Saturday's UFC 276 event. I know the setup here looks a little different. I am in Las Vegas right now for the big event on Saturday, so been doing all the media stuff. But Ben and I have made some time here to get this preview done, and we're going to start on the main card. No sharing the screen today because I'm remote, but let's start here with Pedro Munhoz and Sean O'Malley. Really intrigued by this fight. Sean O'Malley, a big favorite. He is up to minus 300 right now, Ben. The comeback on Pedro Munhoz plus 240. Who are you liking in this fight?
Yeah, O'Malley, he's pretty much going to be juiced, I think, until he loses a few big fights because he's a fan favorite for sure. He has quickly grown as one of the most popular fighters in the UFC. I feel like he's definitely a guy who will drive those prices up because of that. He's a very popular pick. I expect him to be in basically every parlay this weekend, and I do like him to win this fight. I do think the line might be a little inflated, but I think you can knock some of that down. I actually do like him by decision in this fight. Munhoz has been proven that he cannot really be cracked. He hasn't been knocked out yet in his professional MMA career. He does have a good chin. And let's be honest, O'Malley's fought a couple of cans, kind of been fed a few fights, but he does have a lot of knockout power. He has very accurate hands, so I can see where that finish is enticing to play. But I do like him to get a decision here just because of how tough Munhoz has proven to be. But I do think at the end of the day, O'Malley's going to win this fight. I mean, he lands 8.2 significant strikes per minute. He is just super quick. He's really just a hard guy to beat in the octagon, to be honest. Not a lot of people have been able to figure him out except for Chito Vera, who did figure him out with that leg kick. So I think that could be a path to victory for Munhoz in this fight if he decides to land those leg kicks. But then again, it's really hard to land those leg kicks. O'Malley is very elusive in the octagon. So could be a path to victory there. But I do like knocking down that juice on O'Malley on Saturday by taking him by decision plus 175. What do you think?
Yeah, I was actually going to recommend that too. And again, hate to bore the audience here that Ben and I agree once again on something, but I agree with you. Munhoz has never been knocked out. I was at the press conference yesterday or the media day, Pedro talking about bringing in taller guys. So obviously he's preparing for that. That's one thing we didn't talk about is O'Malley will have the height and reach advantage in this fight, but it's only 3 rounds. If this was a 5-round fight, I might lean more towards the O'Malley by knockout prop. But if you even look at his last couple fights, the Chris Montino fight is just a quick example. That was a fight where he actually finished Montino in the 3rd round. And if you're not taking out a guy like him early on, then I doubt you're going to do that to Pedro Munhoz, who's never been knocked out. So I think, again, you could parlay O'Malley. I do see him winning this fight, but, minus 300 a little steep. Take the decision prop. I think that makes a little bit more sense as far as that matchup goes. Okay, next fight we're going to look at here. This got moved to the main card because the switch up with Lauren Murphy and Miesha Tate being off the card. Robbie Lawler is taking on Bryan Barberena, and right now the odds makers have Bryan Barberena as the underdog at plus 105. Robbie Lawler the favorite, minus 125. Which way are you leaning here?
This fight's a really hard one for me. I think the line is basically exactly where it should be. Basically almost had to pick him. Robbie Lawler, obviously he's a legend of the sport, but I mean, you can't help but think he's past his prime. I mean, that's not even really a question. He is past his prime. He's 2-5 over his last 7. But I mean, at the same time, he's always been known to be that guy who can eat those shots, get in those wars and still land his own damage. And Bryan Barberena is a guy who we dropped. He's been knocked out before. So, I mean, I think this is a fight that Robbie Lawler could be losing in the first. He could get absolutely knocked down and look like he's out of it and then just come back in the second and take Bryan Barberena out. So I think it will be a back and forth fight. I think they're going to be at distance kind of the whole time, just throwing those strikes. And Barberena is the faster striker. So I think over 3 rounds of this goes to a decision, that is going to be Barberena's fight and he's going to win it. But I wouldn't be surprised if Lawler did land some crazy knockout here. I think this line is really accurate. It's a hard fight to pick for me. But at the end of the day, I think I'm going to have to go Bryan Barberena here just as that slight underdog because I think this probably will go to a decision. In that case, I like him with the speed. He's a little bit younger, and I think he can kind of just outland Robbie Lawler here.
Yeah, again, hate to bore our audience. I like Barberena here too. I don't know why he's the underdog. I'm guessing it's a popularity thing with Lawler being a former champion, but Lawler's 40. And if you watch that last fight against Nick Diaz, who Nick had 1 foot out the door in that fight, remember, he kind of couldn't even complete the fight, right? So I just think that Barberena, I know he had a close fight with Matt Brown, but he's still getting it done. The UFC gave him a new contract. They obviously see something in him as well. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Barberena is getting these exciting fights over and over. I'm with you. I think that Rory McDonald fight, I know it was a while ago, but that definitely took something out of Lawler. You haven't really seen him the same since then. I like Barberena in this fight. I like him at the dog money. I think another play you could do is the Barberena by decision prop. Lawler is very tough to take out. In fact, I think the last time he was knocked out was the title fight with Tyron Woodley, which was ages ago. So he's got a pretty good chin despite being a little bit older. Maybe take the Barberena by decision, or fight goes to decision if you want to play it safe. But I think this is another fight that will probably be fight of the night, but it's going to go the distance, I think. I don't think you'll see a knockout either way, but I'm also liking Bryan Barberena in this fight. Okay, let's get to another really interesting fight here. Sean Strickland, Alex Pereira. Right now, the odds makers have Alex Pereira as the favorite at -120. The comeback on Sean Strickland +100. Where are you going here? Winner potentially getting a title shot.
Yeah, this for me is the most exciting fight of the night. This is the one I'm really looking forward to, partly because of what you said. The winner is probably getting a title shot, especially Alex Pereira, who we're kind of seeing. I'm not sure if he's actually being groomed for it, but they're kind of building up that Adesanya rematch in MMA, because I mean, it's hard to forget that he's the only guy who's really had constant success against Adesanya. He's 2-0 against him in kickboxing, and that's where he kind of built his entire career. So yeah, he's only 5-1 in MMA, but he's had that prolific kickboxing career where he beat the champion that basically no one has been able to figure out inside the octagon except for Jan Blachowicz. But I mean, that was at light heavyweight. That was just a bad fight for him. But no one's been able to figure out Adesanya striking wise, except for, it seems like, Alex Pereira. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this fight. But at the same time, this is a hard fight. This is a big step up for him. I like Sean Strickland a lot. He's on that big, long fight win streak. I think six in a row now, I think it is. He's looked really good. And when he is calm and technical, I believe that he can win this fight. If he were to grind out a decision here or grapple, I think he could really puzzle Pereira in this fight. But can he do that? I don't know. It seems like a lot of the times he just wants to be in these wars. He's a psycho. Everyone knows that. He's just a psychotic guy. So if he chooses to stand and bang and go with that just war type style of fight, I think he's going to lose this fight in the first round. But if he decides to kind of have a more technical approach to this, maybe grind out a win, I think he can win this fight by decision, because this is a very hard fight and a big step up for Pereira. So I actually like 2 bets in this one, both following those narratives. I like Strickland by decision +250, but I also like hedging that with Pereira in round 1 +330, because that way you can kind of profit either way. And I think that's kind of how this fight's going to go, either one of those 2 ways. What do you think?
I'm liking Strickland here too. He just has more ways to win. And you mentioned the kickboxing fight with Adesanya. He got the first one by decision. The second one was by knockout. And Adesanya actually stopped us in our tracks yesterday at the media day, saying, "Look, I was winning that fight. It was him getting a knockout late in the fight that actually caused things to turn around." So, if you kind of think of it that way, it's not like Adesanya was completely outclassed by this guy. And you're absolutely right. There's a reason this is on the main card. It's because if Pereira wins, he will get the next title shot, more so than Strickland, because there is that narrative, and they're going to try and build that up. There's a lot of pressure on Pereira here. I don't get why he's the favorite. I kind of do, because of the fact that, obviously the Adesanya thing and the good striking, but you even watch his last fight against Bruno Silva, like, he didn't knock him out in that fight. And I don't think Bruno Silva's a top 15 middleweight. Strickland is. Strickland has that experience, and he just beat a guy in Jack Hermanson, who's pretty good in that weight class. And, Strickland has yet to lose at middleweight. I think it's the right weight class for him. Some people might point out to the fact that, hey, he got knocked out by Zaleski at welterweight. I think a lot of that had to do with the weight cut. Strickland's a big guy. I saw him at media day yesterday, just ginormous for the weight class. So I'm liking Strickland here as well. I also like him by decision. I don't think Pereira wins, and I don't even think there's like a puncher's chance here, because to me, there's not enough evidence. He fought Michelinas, he fought Bruno Silva. Yeah, he knocked out Michelinas. Michelinas is a borderline UFC guy. Strickland is a huge step up here. And, not to make a huge comparison here, but this reminds me a bit of the Khamzat Chimaev-Gilbert Burns fight, where Chimaev went from Li Jingliang to Gilbert Burns, and we saw Chimaev win a close decision as opposed to him going out there and steamrolling him. I think the same thing applies here. You're getting Sean Strickland at plus money, a guy who's got more tools to win this. I'm taking Sean Strickland in this fight, and I don't think he's going to sit and stand and trade. I think he just knows he's got to win here and keep the money coming in. So
I agree. Yeah.
I'm going Sean Strickland in this one. Okay, co-main event. We've got Alex Volkanovski, Max Holloway, the trilogy. As you would imagine, with the fight that was very close the last time, just a slight favorite here for Volkanovski at -190. The comeback on Holloway +155. Can Max Holloway do it, Ben, or you going with the champ?
Well, here's the thing. I think the only analysis you really need for this fight is just rewatch their last fight, because I think it's going to be pretty similar. I just see it playing out almost the same way. It's going to be a close fight. They're going to they're both going to have big moments. The only thing I can say is Volkanovski has shown he's been improving every single fight. Holloway also has, he has those 2 really good decision wins over Calvin Kattar and Yair Rodriguez that he's coming off. And he looked really good in those fights, winning those by decision. I just think this is going to be another one where it's just, we're going to have another super close fight. I don't know really what else to say. analysis wise, besides look at the last fight. It's going to be close. And so I think for that reason, I will take Max Holloway plus 175, just because I'm thinking maybe in the third round he can get it done. Arguably, a lot of people, including kind of me rewatching it, thought Max Holloway actually won that fight, including one of the judges. It was a split decision. So, I mean, maybe he can just get that split to go his way this time. But I don't know. I guess if you make me pick, I will take that side, because I don't think that necessarily Volkanovski should have this line as a favorite with how close that last fight was. But he has been improving in every fight, and he is still yet to lose that title. So it's a hard fight, honestly, for me to predict.
No, I definitely see that angle, with the fact it's so even. Take the dog here.
Yeah.
I think, though, you got to remember that usually when it's the champion, the judges tend to go towards the champion. We've seen evidence of this over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
John Jones and Dominic Reyes. I mean, there's so many fights. We had Valentina Shevchenko and Talia Santos a few weeks ago. Same sort of deal. Like, I think that does play into Volk's favor, not to mention the fact he's already got 2 wins. The first fight, I don't know why people think like that was close. Volk clearly won the first fight. Second fight, you want to say Holloway won, that's fine. But the fact that he's already got 2 wins, all the pressure here is on Holloway. If he doesn't win this, I don't see Volkanovski losing for a while if he wins this fight. And so what happens here? Max is going to have to move up, I think, to 155, I would imagine. So you add in the pressure factor. The other thing is, we saw Volkanovski in some serious trouble against Brian Ortega, especially late in that fight when Ortega had that submission hold and he ended up getting out of it. That, to me, is a sign of a guy who's extremely tough to take out. So I actually think the play here is the fight goes the distance. Both these guys are extremely tough to take out. Neither have been finished in the UFC. So it's minus 250 right now. You could parlay that with something else on the card. Or you could go Ben's route and take the dog. But I don't like the fact that Volk's the champ. And if it does go to the scorecards, they do tend to give it to the champion here. So I'm going to take Volk by decision. Sorry, go ahead.
Although Carla Esparza, she kind of that was very
well. That was a weird fight, though. Let's be honest here. Nobody did. They didn't do anything in that fight, and the only way you could score that was the takedowns, and that's what got Carla the fight. Honestly, because. So I think I see what you're saying. That's maybe an example of where it went the other way, but it was just, there was no action in that fight with Carla and Rose except for the takedowns. And that was the only clear-cut evidence you had of Carla winning that fight. And that was so frustrating as someone who was on the Rose side in that one. But I'm going to go Volkanovski by decision in this one. I think he does it. And I think he closes out the trilogy there. Okay. Main event, Israel Adesanya, Jarrod Cannonier. Big favorite here for Adesanya. This line keeps climbing. I've been keeping tabs on it. Right now, Israel Adesanya minus 450. The comeback on Jarrod Cannonier plus 325. Are you going with the champ here?
I am, but I'm going to cut down the juice by going by knockout. I know Adesanya's been taking a lot of decision victories lately, but that's actually something that I saw addressed. He was talking about that, and he didn't like that he felt disrespected by Whitaker by a few comments made online, and now he's kind of back with a vengeance, it seems, because Cannonier has done kind of the same, building up the hype for it. But I do like Adesanya to get another knockout win here, mostly because the last decisions you see, Adesanya was fighting more guys who were trying to grapple. They were trying to figure out, how do I beat Adesanya? And, Whitaker grappled with him. Vettori grappled with him. Even Jan grappled with him, but of course that was at light heavyweight. But still, it's been kind of the path that these guys have been taking to try and figure out Adesanya. And so I think Cannonier isn't really that guy who can grapple with him. He's more of the striker. And I am really high on Cannonier. I like him a lot as a fighter. I like him as the number 3 ranked guy. And I think that he might bring a little bit more than Paulo Costa brought to the fight. But I think ultimately it's going to end the same way, where if you try and stand and trade or play that distance battle with Adesanya, you're just going to lose, because he's a master at keeping distance, and his defensive striking is just amazing. So I think eventually he's going to find that. I don't think it'll be until like the 4th round, maybe 5th round. Because, we saw Cannonier lose that 5th round when he went to the 5th against Kelvin Gastelum. So I think it could look a little bit like that. He starts to kind of slow down a little bit. That's the only other 5-round fight we've seen him in that made it to the 5th round. So I think we could see where he kind of falls apart a little bit late, and then Adesanya eventually lands that knockout blow. But that's how I see this fight going, and that's a little bit of a way to knock down the juice on it. It's taken by a knockout plus 170, which is actually a higher line than him by decision. So the books are favoring him to win by decision, but this is going to be a striking battle. So I think that for that reason, it's going to end in a knockout.
Yeah, this is a tough one. One thing we do have to point out is that fight that the fight that got Cannonier the title shot was against Derek Brunson. Cannonier actually didn't look that good in the first round. In fact, I think Brunson won that first round. It was only him coming back and knocking out Brunson. And I knew at some point Derek Brunson was going to get knocked out. He had this run, this really impressive run, where he had not fought guys with the type of power like a Cannonier, and eventually it caught up to him, and Cannonier took advantage and got the fight. So I think it's well deserved for Cannonier, but we do have to point that out with the fact that it's not like it was a flawless victory there for Cannonier.
Yeah.
I don't know how this is going to end because, just another sort of, and, I hate using MMA math, but, he fought Whitaker, Cannonier, and he actually hurt himself early in that fight and still went the distance. And Rob does have knockout power, maybe not to the ability of some other guys, but Cannonier went the distance there. So that's where I take a little bit of a pause on the knockout prop, but I get it because I could see Cannonier slowing down in this fight if Adesanya is able, because Adesanya is fast. He's technical. This is a former Glory kickboxer as well, a guy that has a very high level of striking. So I could see him wearing him down and getting a late finish. The other thing is Jarrod Cannonier's 38 years old. Like that's gotta, at some point he's got to slow down a little bit. So I could see a late finish there from Adesanya, but I like Adesanya here. I'm not going to lay the juice on him at that price. I don't think you're really getting too much unless you get really creative with the parlays. I kind of lean more towards decision only because like I said, with the Whitaker fight, we saw Cannonier be able to sort of survive that. But I also feel like Adesanya maybe has a bit of a chip on his shoulder from some of the criticisms of going the distance. I've even heard some people call him boring. The Vittori fight was boring. I don't know what they were watching. I thought that was a good fight, but So I think be careful with this one, but Adesanya should win. It's his fight to lose, in my opinion. Cannonier has a puncher's chance, but we just have not seen anyone even come close to even like wobbling Adesanya. I mean, I guess Gaslam did in their fight, but I think Adesanya is a much more improved fighter since that interim title fight. And that was the first time he was really in a war. I think you'll see Adesanya be a little bit more technical here. So the pick's going to be Adesanya. We're both going with the champ in the main event. Before we get out of here, I do have to mention that we do have a contest going on for UFC 276. If you follow me on Twitter or Ben on Twitter, you can see there two people who like the tweet that we posted out with everything and also subscribe to our YouTube channel could win $276. So take advantage of the promo that's going on OddsChecker right now. For myself, for Ben, thank you so much for tuning in. Enjoy the fights this Saturday. It's going to be a good one.